Hey, welcome to the download. What'll it be? Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Lowdown at the Down Low, a show where I, your host, Jason Braden, get up close and personal with the talented cast and crew of the audio series Heroes of Extinction. Today on our show, I have the distinct pleasure of speaking to the very talented and lovely Lora Oliver. Welcome, Lora.
Hi, Jason. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I can't complain. Can't complain.
Good. Thanks very much for taking your time to be with us today and sharing your experiences with this show and about you. And in regards to that, we've actually started pretty much every episode of who you are, where you came from, how did you get into the job that you're doing right now, and is it full-time, part-time? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, that's an interesting question because, of course, nobody's path is just a direct one, I don't think.
Never.
So if you've ever seen the movie Clueless,
yes,
you all know what Alicia Silverstone was like. Imagine taking her and dumping her into a pig pen at 14.
Okay.
That was me. I went from living in California and being quite the, prissy, girly girl. And my parents moved us to 20 acres of sagebrush and rocks in a very, very small town in Oregon. And I then became FFA, 4-H. I actually have a tractor trophy, believe it or not. Oh yeah, I have a.
Did you ever do like the chicken battle like they did in Footloose, where it's head to head?
But I did raise pigs. One of my sows was 900 pounds, and the other one was about 5, and she would sit for an Oreo cookie.
That's too cute.
Yeah, I'm a total farm girl. I moved to San Francisco, met Courtney, who's on the show, and we met doing South Pacific, and that's kind of where the acting bug bit me.
Nice.
So now I am full-time actress.
Okay, and so you were in the Bay Area before, but you're obviously not in the Bay Area anymore.
Yep.
Did you ever live in LA at all to try to get the big roles? Because I've heard a lot of people say that, if you're going to actually make it in Hollywood, you have to move to LA or the Hollywood area. Have you ever been down there or lived in that area before?
Let's be honest. I am your average in every way, shape, and form white woman. So there's not a lot of demand for me in Hollywood. I know better. So no, the answer is I've not lived in LA yet. I'm trying to come into the Hollywood circuit through, say, a different avenue. I live in Albuquerque.
Okay. So right now you're obviously doing voice acting. Is there anything else that you have done in the past? Because I've done some peeking. You've not just done voice acting before. You've had a starring role in a couple of things here and there. Can you talk about that?
Of course. I've had a crazy opportunity. I actually have been directed one-on-one by Danny Boyle, which is super cool. It means absolutely nothing, really and truthfully, just except for it's a cool story. When he did Steve Jobs in San Francisco, I was pulled from background and given a line and literally directed one-on-one by him, which, again, like I said, it's just such a cool story. And then in 2020, I was cast in Level, which was this beautiful short film directed by Matt Linderman. And it actually won Best Indie Film at the 2021 Faith in Film Festival. And I was the lead in it. I played a woman who was dealing with a lot of grief and changes in her life. And it was a beautiful story. And I was very, very fortunate to be cast in that. And as far as Albuquerque, it is where Breaking Bad was filmed. Better Call Saul.
Yes.
Final season. I was actually background on that twice.
No kidding.
No kidding. I actually got to be really close to, I gotta be careful. I got to be really close to some of the stars.
That's after me. Close enough. Yeah.
And the other night I actually had the opportunity to go see Bob Odenkirk, and I think her name's Ray, can't think of her last name right now. She's also one of the big leads. They did a stand-up improv charity event here in Albuquerque, and I got to watch that, which was super cool.
So wait, is Odenkirk a comedian then as well, or?
I think that's how he got his start, is he was a stand-up comedian.
I never knew that.
I didn't either. And it was fun to watch him get up there and, they brought in an improv troupe and it was cool. It was a cool event. Big Sky is filming here. Outer Range, some people I know, they actually got to show up on that. Yeah, there's stuff going on. Netflix has a studio here, actually, and so does one of the Universal streamings. Such a bad thing for an actress to not know, but
well, there's so many things out there now. It's hard to keep track. So the things that you've done, and I've asked this of a few people that have ever, been cast in TV shows or had small parts in movies, or even done audio shows before. Do you ever go back and you watch yourself on a show or a movie? No, you don't?
There's been a couple of them where I've gone back just to see, did I show up? Was I even in frame? But you kind of get past that on background, because really and truthfully, background is incredibly important. It really does change the entire texture and experience for the viewer, but it's kind of, like, So no, I really don't go back and watch it. I have seen the Steve Jobs one. I actually got to go to a special premiere in San Francisco with the director, and I believe the producer was there. And I was so excited. I have these special tickets, and I thought, okay, cool. And I'm watching and I go, well, guess I'm not in it.
Oh, so you were cast, you were filmed, but your scene never made the cut.
My line got cut. So,
that stinks.
Yeah. Hey, I still get the residuals.
There was that something like your contract or something like that. Does it say that if we cut you, you're still going to get paid?
It's part of the SAG-AFTRA contract.
Perfect.
So I am actually in the credits. If you do watch, who watches credits, but if you do watch the credits, Andy's assistant, and there's my name. So I am.
Yeah, I stalked you on IMDb before the meeting, and I saw that's what your character was. And I also saw that was the one that they did where I think Michael Fassbender was the one that played Steve Jobs, right?
And Kate Winslet was, I'm so bad, I can't think of her name, but funny little story. When I went in to wardrobe, before they set us up, and it was a 2-week stint. I had to sign up for 2 weeks and be available to be background for the 1984 scenes. So I'm sitting outside of wardrobe. I'm talking to another background, and I look at this woman at the end of the hallway, and I'm like, she kind of looks like Kate Winslet. And something in my face must have registered. So the other actor, she turns and she looks back, and her face is just like, oh, and I was like, oh, it is Kate Winslet. Okay. And she walked right by me, and I was like, oh, she's gorgeous. She's glorious. Oh my gosh. So then I get into wardrobe, and they put me in this fantastic blue and black 80s outfit. I'm like playing an office worker, and I come out and they're all excited, like, yes. And the head costumer comes in, and she's like, she can't wear that. And they're like, why? It looks great on her. She's like, she looks too much like Kate Winslet's outfit in the same scene.
Oh,
I see. Nobody's going to confuse me with Kate Winslet. Come on. But they actually changed my costume, and I'm glad, because the costume they changed me into is why I was pulled from background to get the line, which then made me SAG-AFTRA eligible. It all happened for a reason, but it was cool.
Did you have to do any preparation for being in a scene that was from the 80s? Because forgive me for asking, but you don't look that old to really have grown up in the 80s per se. You may have been alive in the 80s, but maybe not grown up in the 80s. So was it weird? I don't know how many lines you had, or how involved your character.
And it was fun. I collect vintage clothing, so a lot of times my style is very much vintage. So I have pieces from the 80s. I have pieces from 70s, 60s. 50s, what have you. In fact, I was doing background in LA. I've actually done background a couple times where I bring my own costumes. And I've had people I've had one experience where the LA casting or the LA costumer said, why do you have so many 80s clothes? And I just said, because I'm making your job easier. And then I did a show as a reenactment about Ted Bundy. And I played his girlfriend, Diane Edwards, in this reenactment, which to some people, they would say that she's what actually kind of flipped the switch in him. And it was set in the early 70s, late 60s was the two sides I was playing. And I remember sitting there having my hair and makeup done, and I see the costume hanging, that they're going to ask me to put on. And I looked at those pants, and I was like, I'm not sure which thigh they want me to put that on, but those are not going to fit. There's no way. And it was like this brown turtleneck and a brown crocheted vest, which was completely perfect for the era. But I just said to the costumer and the producer, I said, hold on, I've got a suitcase. And I opened up my suitcase, and it was one of those moments where they were like, ah. And the hair and makeup girl goes, oh my gosh, I want to shop in your closet. And I said, honey, my 70s stuff is actually really lacking. So, you should see the other stuff I have. And in fact, in both scenes, I'm wearing my own clothes for that show, as well as when I did the background for the 80s in LA, I was wearing my own clothes for both scenes in that too. And speaking of, sorry, I'm going to kind of keep going. My mom, she was working in offices in the 80s, and I sent her pictures from set with my hair that's like sky high. And she laughed. She said, "You should warn your mother before you send those photos." I was not ready for that. And I remember taking a picture, speaking of my vintage clothes, I used to post pictures of, the outfits online. And she said one time, "I think I owned exactly that dress in the 80s.
Oh my goodness.
I loved it. It was fun. So,
the big hair, was it like Beverly Goldberg style?
Oh yeah. I have bangs, so it's easy for me to get them, up the Aquanet. And they took my hair and put it up in a French twist with all the curls on the top, and then just teased it till it stood on its own almost. And I have these great pictures of me in this over the top silk dress that's totally 80s in front of Bougainville. And it's crazy. I love them.
That's amazing. You should have you ever decided to get into, since you like to collect vintage clothing, have you ever thought about getting into like a wardrobe type of job in studios or anything of the like?
If I fail completely at acting, yes.
Okay. Hey, everybody's got to have a backup, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's great. So let's start going into Heroes of Extinction. So we got a lot about your background. How did you get cast into the show itself?
Actually, as I mentioned earlier, Courtney Schaefer, who's also a part of the cast, she is one of my best friends. And she was cast early on, and she said that she heard Jerry and Andrew talking about this new character, Human Blade. And she said, "Oh, I know who this person is." She's like, "She's real. Let me talk to her." And so she reached out and said, "Hey, would you be interested?" I said, "Absolutely. Of course I'd be interested. Dream job is to play a hero of any kind." And so then Jerry he followed up after that and said, "Hey, would you do some recordings?" I sent them over. He gave me some pointers, sent them back, and then he invited me to a table read, and I'm still here. So either they've just forgot I'm here or they like what I'm doing.
It's coming. It's coming, folks. Trust us. It's the big things coming, lots of amazing stuff happening. And the show is actually quite well known at this point. A little spoiler into this, and I'm sure it's okay because I think I talked to this about Andrew during my interview with him, but he was recently in London for a charity event, and all the stuff that he was doing for his signings was going towards the charity. And when he was passing out his autographs and his pictures and everything, he also had flyers for Heroes of Extinction. Mm-hmm. And he and also Isaac Singleton both had people approach them and say, "Oh yeah, I know what this is. I can't wait to hear it." So there's people overseas that have already heard and are excited about it just as much as we are waiting for it to drop online.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. That makes me just beam from the inside out because cool.
People are waiting. So, have patience. It's coming, but you're not the only one. Apparently there are fans awaiting everything as well. And I think it was great because you had mentioned that, Courtney was the one that kind of pulled you into this and said, "Oh, this is Human Blade, right? That's the character you play." I obviously know Josh Schaefer, who is, one of the characters, several characters on the show, actually.
Yeah.
We were talking about him with Courtney, who, like you said, is the one that introduced you. So, basically, Josh meets Jerry, mm-hmm. right? Josh mm-hmm. introduces Courtney to Jerry. Mm-hmm. Courtney introduces you to Jerry. And that trickle-down effect is one of the most amazing things that I've found as a commonality with everybody that I've spoken to on these interviews so far. It's just amazing how much of a human connection we have with all these people just going like, "Oh yeah, you got to listen to this person. They're perfect for this role." Yeah.
Yeah. I love that as well, that we can do that. In fact, as soon as we are done here, I'm going to work with my nieces to do a little recording potentially for one of the episodes. So, doesn't fall far from the tree, right?
No, it doesn't. And that's how it happens. The word of mouth is very, very powerful. So Courtney knew that you were the right person for Human Blade. Why was that?
Because I am salty.
Salty. I love that term.
One of my taglines is, "I am a delightful mix of Zooey Deschanel and Woody Harrelson." I look like Zoe, but the moment I open my mouth, you're like, wow, that is a crunchy old guy. And so when she heard Human Blade, she's like, oh yeah, that's Lora, 100%. And I read the lines and I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Those are things I think. I may not say them out loud because I don't want to get in trouble, but
Right. Yeah, of course. So would you say that Human Blade is literally just you? You don't really have to really change how you sound or anything like that. Just change tones based on, how the room is being read?
Pretty much. And I'm going to have to give a nod to Sam in that, because I think she started hearing me and kind of catering Human Blade a little bit more to my natural saltiness, I suppose. Andrew has told me that I tend to lilt up in my voice, which I'm sure is because I try not to scare people and I try to appear pleasant, even though that's not what's going on mentally. So for Human Blade, I just have to remember to just bite the end of my words like I would want to.
Yeah, I understand that. And I appreciate the candor in the response. So you're salty, your character is salty, right? And she is known as Human Blade. And I'm going to try to say this as careful as possible without giving any spoilers.
Yeah.
But her character is just the Human Blade almost up until the very end of the show, when somebody gets to find out what her real name is. Do you remember who that somebody is?
Oh, I do. I do remember. Yeah. And
how you doing?
Yeah, you better be careful because she's real handy with sharp objects. And
yes, she is. Yes,
things she doesn't tolerate, like nicknames.
Right, exactly. And I really want to say what that nickname is, but it's a little bit too early to be talking about that. But people will just have to appreciate the answers that we just gave and listen for the rest later. But it's a great scene. It's one of my favorites since I've been in the project, sharing that moment with you and the rest of the cast, because when we were doing the table read for that, everybody was laughing. It was such a great moment. And it was moments like that, that just made every one of those reads just feel like so comfortable and like we're just sitting around having dinner at a table or something like that.
It is a very family, even though the story is superheroes, the environment that we have as the cast is very family-like. Kind of get a feeling that they are a family in a way, or that they're going to become one maybe, or there's just something there that is stronger than them needing to be together. Like it's not just a convenience thing. Like, oh, this is, a project we have to take care of. There's just something growing there. And I like that.
There is. And I can kind of equate it because I have a full-time job outside of doing this show, Heroes of Extinction, the upcoming shows that I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
But I have my work family and then I have my family at home.
Right.
And with my work family, with, the career that I've been doing for decades now, I've gotten to know those people very close and very personal. I've met their husbands, their wives, their children, sometimes their parents. And I feel like with Heroes of Extinction, because these people are so emotionally obligated to each other to stop everything that's going on, you can't help but develop a similar bond. Yeah. And it becomes kind of their work family as well. And when you're emoting those characters and their lines, it's tough not to become a family have this as our work family on top of it.
Right. And one of the things that I try to emphasize, even though Human Blade is salty, she is no nonsense. She is about the task at hand. She's very efficient. The giveaway is in her name, human. That's what we lead with. So she is, number one, she's the only human that is in the group. Everybody else is a superhero. They've all got powers. She doesn't. It is the humanity that she's really trying to protect. And that's what's important to her. That's why she shows up. That's why she puts herself at risk, is because she believes in humanity. And I think that's where the human comes from.
I like that. That's a great answer. So we've kind of given the fans a little bit of a taste, her personality and, her saltiness. And we are going to go ahead and introduce a clip of you and Gabriel, who is True Strike, interacting for the very first time. So can you go ahead and set up the scene a little bit and just kind of give us an idea of what we're about to hear?
So this is pretty exciting because this is the first time that she shows up on the scene, and Gabriel is, I think, a little unnerved because he doesn't know who she is, and she knows how to play the game. Let's put it that way. She knows how to play the game to get what she needs, but she's also not completely selfish. So yeah, this is a great scene. This was so much fun.
All right. I can't wait to hear it. Let's go ahead and roll the clip.
Now, it's my turn. Who are you?
You may call me the Human Blade.
Well, Human Blade, what do you want with Creme 27?
My turn. How long was Dr. Matthews working on the project?
Gabriel inhales deeply, his nostrils flaring at the mention of Davina. He tightens his jaw and swallows.
Davina's been working on the project since its inception. I only recently discovered the details. Perhaps you can contact the university for a more in-depth account of Dr. Matthews' curriculum vitae. Now, it's my turn. Are you following me?
The Human Blade nods her head to the side.
I've been watching you for some time now, but to be honest, I wasn't completely sure you were my target until the gala. True strike?
Adrenaline rushes through Gabriel. How did she know his altar? He presses his fingers against his temple.
Skyo, engage Exo...
Before he can complete the sentence, the woman pulls a small blade from her wristband and flings it at Gabriel. The small silver projectile flashes through the alley and slices his inner wrist before embedding itself into the soft brick of the wall behind him. He drops his hand, and the connection to Skyo is interrupted before the sequence is completed.
I wouldn't if I were you. If I wanted you dead, you'd already be.
A heavy silence fills the alley between them. Gabriel examines the wound. A thin line of blood oozes slowly from the expertly sliced skin. There's no doubt she is telling him the truth. If she had wanted him dead, he would be.
That was awesome. I love the chemistry that True Strike has with your character, with a lot of characters too. He's a fantastic actor, played by Peter Alden, of course. Oh. And I love just hearing the two of you just like not really necessarily duke it out, but the chemistry is actually fantastic as superheroes.
Yeah, the banter is nice. I appreciate that so much, especially with somebody like Peter, who's so generous as an actor.
Definitely. There's a star quality about him, no doubt.
Yeah.
So do you have, like, we were talking about this already, how we have such a big family and we've done all these table reads. Now, I came into the season a little bit late. I want to say the third season, or the third episode is what I kind of came in on and met you all for the first time. But I think you've had at least one other table read ahead of me before that, because I think that was episode 2 that we just listened to. Do you have any like memorable moments from our table reads, or any like funny anecdotes that you want to share, or even just a general feeling of what it's like for you when we're all talking on these Zoom calls? Because I mean, and I have to remind everybody that when we do these table reads, it is a figurative table. We are all on Zoom. We are scattered across the United States. And after we're done with these reads, we just take our audio that we record after the meetings and we send it all to be edited and merged into a show. So we're never together. No. So I want to give the audience just a little reminder about that. And with my question to you, memorable moments or feelings from the table reads you remember?
Oh, there's some great ones. One of the ones that sticks out is there was a time I can't remember exactly which line I had delivered, but I delivered it in my best HB, my best Human Blade. And it was quiet. And I thought, oh, I'm in trouble. Andrew spoke up and he said, I wouldn't want to meet you in a dark alley. And I was like, yeah, the Sith Lord himself is intimidating.
Yes, I think I remember him saying that. I think I remember him saying that. And I remember that quietness too. That's awesome. So I got some other projects coming up. I know that one of them is Extinguished Worlds. We also have Rodella McPherson. We're excited a lot about these stories. Have you been approached at all for any of these yet? Or do you have anything else?
Nope. Apparently he doesn't like me that well.
Oh, come on now. Well, I think that casting is still being done, so don't hold your breath.
I'm not offended. I'm joking. I just like to give Jerry a jab every once in a while just to keep him.
I mean, who doesn't really, right?
In line. No, he has
Okay.
not. But again, like, I'm sure anything that he touches is going to be fantastic. And I encourage anybody who gets a chance to listen to these shows to do it. I've been able to read a couple things, and he's got some great projects. He really does have an eye, or I guess an ear, for really good projects.
Definitely. So what I'm hearing is that if you were approached to be a character in one of the new series, you wouldn't really have much of an objection to being on board with those either, would you?
Oh, I'd absolutely not do it. He's waited too long. No, I'm
Great
kidding.
answer. Great answer. I'm going to give you the Family Feud answer on it. Great answer. Great answer.
I told you I was salty.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right. Well, we're getting kind of close to the end here. So the only thing that I'm going to ask you about, if there's anything that you would like to plug for yourself, websites, social media things, anything like that?
Not really. I mean,
No?
I'm out there, the Lora Oliver on Instagram. That's probably the best place to follow me at this
Okay.
point. But no, I'm kind of in one of those weird lulls right now.
All right. Well, then best of luck getting out of a lull and into something that you enjoy, because I know that this is something that is becoming, I should say, a true passion of mine. And I've been excited to meet so many amazing people, yourself included. And I'm really glad that we got the chance to talk today, because I've spoken to a lot of people outside of the table reads, but a few of them I haven't been able to connect with. Courtney was one of the first ones yesterday. I really haven't talked to her much outside except for the interview yesterday. And then, of course, you today. And I'm not kidding. I'll be texting you about stuff probably later on saying, hey, have you seen this show? Have you seen that show? Have you seen that? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put a bookmark in this one particular spot. Love, Death, Robots on Netflix.
I've seen it.
Okay, did you watch the new season yet, though?
I haven't.
Okay, I just watched it last night. You got to watch it.
Okay.
That's where I'm going to leave it at, and then we'll follow up with that again later on. All right, cool. Awesome. So thank you again so much for being on today's show. It was a genuine pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Jason.
You're welcome. Thank you. And that's really all that we have for today, everybody. I'd like to once again thank Lora Oliver for taking the time to be one-on-one. And thanks to all who tuned in and listened. Once again, this is your host, Jason Braden, signing off and hoping you'll come together again for another episode of the Lowdown at the Down Low. Cheers.
All great stories begin with adventurous ideas.